All right, let's go ahead and jump into things. So first of all, good morning, everyone, and thanks for attending today's quarterly product update from Rocketspark. So this is our first quarterly product update in a series of quarterly product updates going forward. So what we want to do and get out of today is just give you guys a bit of an overview of some of the recent releases that we've unleashed into the partner channel, and then also just run through some of the things that are coming up from the Rocketspark's point of view and what we'll be doing in product land and some of the developments that you guys will see coming live, which is pretty exciting. So first of all, before we kick things off, just a little bit of housekeeping. So if you do have any questions, do ask them throughout. So we will come to that towards the end. We've got a bit of a Q&A. So we'll just have all those questions there and answer them as we sort of get to that point towards the end. So we've got about sort of 5 to 10 minutes to run through that session there towards the end of any Q&A you've got. But other than that, yeah, enjoy today. Just sit back, relax, and we'll go through some cool releases that we've recently released in the last sort of 6 months. And then from there, we'll do a bit of a demo as well, which is pretty cool. So we'll show you how that works. And we've got expert Jeremy here today. So Jeremy being the Chief Product Officer, who's going to run through and give you a bit of an overview of a bit of an understanding as to why we've released some of these products. And so I'll be the person interviewing you today, which will be exciting. And so my name's Hayden Walsh. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at Rocketspark. So looking forward to jumping into it. Cool. All right. So let's jump in and have a look at today's agenda. So first of all, as I sort of mentioned, we're looking to do this as a bit more of a series. So each quarter we'll go through and just do a little bit of an overview of all the product releases that we've done within that period or within that quarter, and then just giving you guys some things to get excited about coming up as well. But for today, what we've got on the agenda, we're going to run through and look at auto writing with Flint. So our new tool, Flint, which will be pretty exciting. I know you're biting at the chomp to really give people a good overview of how it works and how you should be using it. Another great little feature that hopefully some people should have experienced by now is the visual spacing. So that should be live in a few different people's websites. So it'll be good to get a little bit of feedback on that too. Our new quick page manager as well. So I believe that's now live in the product.
Yeah, all partners as of this morning now have access to that. So we'll
cool, just this morning.
Explain what that is.
That's pretty cool. Custom fonts as well. So this one's been around for a while.
Yep. So yeah, definitely been seeing some designers using this one to add diversity to their fonts.
Nice, love it. So we'll go through and talk about that a little bit. And then the last one is just domain transfers as well. So another recent little release that we've basically gone through and released in the last wee while. So we'll talk through that. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. So I guess before we sort of start with going through and how some of this works, it'd be good to sort of just talk about how we sort of go through the process of, I guess, understanding why we're doing these releases. How's it benefiting designers?
Yeah, so designers is a massive focus for us from the product side of the business, and a big part of that is listening to requests that come through. So we get lots and lots of feature requests come through the customer success team and through the growth team and that kind of thing, and we sort of group those and keep track of what are sort of the emerging requests and that kind of thing.
Yep.
But I'm also fairly regularly having calls with designers and just learning about what are the bits of their job that they're struggling with or is maybe tedious about the design process, and how can we actually create something maybe that people aren't necessarily asking for or haven't thought to ask for, but could actually make their lives better or make their design better or just speed things up. But probably the main theme for a lot of these updates is helping you design faster. There's ultimately, when you're designing, there's the fun stuff, the creative stuff, and then there's the tedious stuff that's kind of like design admin almost.
Yeah.
And so we're really on a mission to ultimately try and eliminate or automate as much as the not fun stuff as we can, to give more time for the creative stuff, or potentially increase your margins. So, you can actually keep your prices at a certain level, but just you're doing less less clicks, less moving things around. But ultimately, we still see that designers at the driver's seat of creativity, creative control, and all of that stuff.
Ultimately, it's really creating a delightful experience, right?
That's right, yeah. And also trying to think about, how the features that we launch don't just impact designers, but also their clients and what that relationship looks like. Yeah.
And do you see with the recent releases really benefiting designers in the next 12 months?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So there's just some really tangible ways that they'll speed up design, give more design flexibility, and yeah. But I guess one thing that I'd say is particularly with the area of AI, we're really just getting started. So kind of what's to come is really exciting.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I was going to mention to you. I mean, AI is such a talking point right now. It's almost, if you haven't implemented it in your business in one way or another, what are you sort of doing? And again, it's sort of lifting that veil. Should we be using it? How should we be using it? And a lot of people are worried as well. So it's almost understanding how do we eliminate any of that worry? How do you sort of see with some of the releases that we've released, being Flint, for example, how do you sort of see AI playing a part in these roles?
Yeah. So I just got a couple of notes here that help me think about this one. So I guess there's a few kind of concerns we hear about AI for designers. There's kind of the futuristic one of like, is it going to replace me? But then even things like, designers that work with professional writers and not wanting to end that relationship. So I just want to talk about that one, I guess. And what I'd say is if you're working with a professional writer, keep working with a professional writer. But I guess what I'm hearing as well from talking to designers is that designers can't always get clients to agree to paying for a professional writer. So that's where, if you're not going to work with a professional writer, Flint can be an amazing backup. But also, it would be great today to talk about if you are working with a professional writer, there's still a place for Flint if we think about, the writer creates the kind of creative genius behind the voice of the customer and that kind of thing, but then you hand over the site to the client and then they're writing content moving forward. They don't have budget to do every content update with a writer. How can you actually set Flint up so that it takes the genius of the writer and empowers the client to actually continue that and carry on that? So definitely we don't see professional writers being replaced. One thing as well, in terms of thinking about the future of design and the future of working with writers, is we definitely don't see it as designers being replaced. We see it as, there's this powerful tool that can streamline the not fun parts of your job and just give you more time for creativity.
It'll be more efficient, right?
More efficient, but also we do kind of think that in future, the level of DIY design will increase. And so I kind of see three pathways for designers to take. One is to use AI badly and kind of look like the sameness of everyone else's DIY. And then there's not much differentiation. There's not use AI at all. And then the DIY kind of design stuff gets closer to what you're offering and against that lack of differentiation. But if you use AI really, really well, and as it continues to get more powerful in the future, there's a chance to really cut through the sameness of all the people who are using AI to all kind of get to the same level. So I think there's a real opportunity for designers who want to set themselves apart and create incredible brand projects and websites for clients to use AI to do that.
And I guess, do you think there's anything that designers today should be mindful of when they're experimenting and playing around with AI?
I think the number one thing is, AI isn't perfect. And I've talked to designers who have maybe given the early version of Flint to go, for example, and it hasn't quite done what they've expected it to do, and they've sort of written it off, I guess. But what I'd also say is I've worked with a lot of writers over the years, and writers don't always get it right either. And so what I'd say is it's a great starting point. If you can even streamline, 20% of your time in terms of kind of corralling content around the site. But from a futuristic point of view as well, where there's a lot more that we've got coming down the line. So we're working at the moment on a project, a little bit of a teaser, where Flint will actually come up with the full sitemap for the site for you. So based on who the client is, what their industry is, what their key services are, it'll actually create the sitemap and set up all of your pages for you. So even the admin of having to go to the manage pages area and go new page, type in the page name, add new page.
It'll be done for you.
It'll all be done for you. And even if that sitemap is only kind of 70% right, delete the couple of
like
pages you don't want, add the ones you do. So it's just how can we streamline the tedious parts of the design process, I guess.
We don't have a release date on that yet?
No, not yet.
Oh,
Not
okay.
yet.
No, all
But
right,
yeah.
that's okay. And I guess that's one of the things, right, is when it's coming to dealing with AI, is around your mindset. And I guess what would your recommendation be around designers? What mindset do you think they should be having going into these discussions?
What I'd say is with be open-minded, so give things a try. And one thing that we're actually looking to bring in is version numbers for Flint, so that as we release a new version number, you can go, oh, actually, there's a new version. I'll go give that a try. Otherwise, it's sort of like it's not clear. There's all these different aspects to it. So that's something we're doing that will hopefully simplify it. Yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah,
that sounds good. Oh, how about we jump in and have a little bit of an overview and check out some of these releases that we've released in the last couple of months. I guess for today's purposes, we're just going to go through and do a bit of a run through around what that looks like and use a bit of a demo.
Cool. We'll get things going here.
Hand things over to you there. Share your screen. There we go.
Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the trial sign-up process and just demo that aspect of Flint. And then I'm going to jump to another demo site where I've got some of these new features enabled that maybe are not quite out yet, just so that we can give a bit of a sneak peek of those.
Not too sure if you're sharing your screen there, Jeremy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just maybe
here's it, screen sharing.
Maybe stop and start again there. It's our first time trying one of our new
All right, there we go.
Ah, there we go. It's coming through. Perfect. There we go. Everyone can see that okay?
Cool. So what you'll see actually is this little lightning bolt here. So these templates are optimized for Flint, but ultimately it's just they've got lots of content on them, and Flint does better when there's lots of content, but you can use Flint on any of the templates. Because I've used this template here on my demo, I'm going to use this one, even though it doesn't have the little lightning bolt on it. I'm going to use the business of the template, so Prima Plumbing. Can you still see that?
Yep, that's what come through for.
If I do that, yeah,
perfect. So this is going through and setting up the tone of voice.
That's right. Yep. So just skipping through this part relatively quickly because probably lots of you have seen this, but effectively we're giving Flint the information about your business. And one thing I'd say as well is, working with a professional writer is only good as the brief that you give them.
Yep.
And Flint is very much the same. Like if you give Flint a really limited amount of information, it'll give, a low quality.
Comes down to your prompts, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yep. So let's say it's Tauranga. Say 2010, team size 15. Cool. So if I choose here, some of these sort of tone of voice hints here. So if we say thoughtful, friendly, witty, you'll see here there's a refine your tone of voice button. So this is the ability to get quite hands-on in terms of guiding Flint in terms of the way you want it to write. So if you've ever used Flint and the response has been, not quite as good as what you're wanting in terms of how the wording sounds, and you work with a writer and the writer just nails the vibe of the writing, the custom tone of voice can really make a substantial difference with this. So all you need to do is click that little button there, and this will actually create the tone of voice that normally you see in the background. So you can see here, it's created this blurb. But the really cool part of this is that I can actually put in something that I've crafted in here. So if you are working with a writer, this is a great place to get, all of the information about brand attributes and how you talk and all of that kind of stuff, and put it in here so that when you hand the keys over to the client and then you write anything or refine anything with Flint, it'll carry over the intent of the writer, or if you've helped them with the content. So if I just jump and grab, here's one I prepared earlier.
Nice.
So this is about 1,800 characters, I think. But you can have up to that one. Right.
And so this would be just like in ChatGPT, how you're setting up your brand and tone of voice, right?
That's right. Yeah. So ChatGPT calls this custom instructions, and this is really similar. So I've added that there. You could have up to 3,000 more characters. So there's a lot of information you can give this about, you know, how your business talks, what are you valued, values. Yeah. So
and you can edit this anytime?
Yes, I'll show as well how to go back and edit this. So if you've got a client site who you felt that Flint wasn't quite nailing it, you can go back and kind of tidy this up
nice.
at any point. And then that won't, if you do change the tone of voice for an existing client, that won't change any of the existing content that's on the page. It'll just change any new content that you write with.
Nice.
So yeah, Flint here is writing the text for the homepage here.
Just amazes me every time we go through this. Just awesome.
One thing to note with accordions and buttons is that we're looking to work on getting Flint to write those as well. At the moment, Flint doesn't write buttons and accordions. One of the really neat things about creating the sitemap, you know, as part of this next project, is that it'll have knowledge of what the pages are on the site, so it can actually populate the buttons sensibly to link it to another page because it knows the sitemap. And another thing that's really cool about that project is we're looking to automatically write all of the meta title and description tags. So if you hate SEO at the moment, it'll just automatically do all of that.
SEO,
so,
right?
So yeah, some really cool stuff coming there. So what I wanted to show is if I go here to click the little Flint lightning bolt, get out of the way. You can go back and edit this tone of voice here. So this is all of the information that I put in at that startup
really cool
phase. And so then anytime you write a whole page, write a paragraph or a heading or rewrite or shorten or anything, it's going to reference all of these sort of brand attributes, you know, innovative and forward thinking, reliable and honest. More than anything, we have an extremely high attention to detail in everything we do.
Nice.
So yeah, that's that. So now I'm going to jump over to the demo, and effectively this is the same site, but I've just enabled some of the features that aren't publicly available yet. So if I go here, that's working.
Cool.
Cool. So now Flint doesn't just write home pages. So if we go to this gas fitting page, there's now a green auto write button. So
just checking something there. You just keep going.
Cool.
Okay.
If you click that auto write button, so you'll see here beta. So this is an early access, so minor issues may occur. So generally it does a great job. This is a starting point. If there's anything that's not quite right about the wording, you can just delete those blocks or delete those stacks and add in your own content. So let's say this page is about our gas fitting service. So this is a premium plumbing and gas fitting service. So we offer high-end gas fireplace installations, continuous hot water supply, what are some other gas, premium gas stove tops or high-end kitchens.
People still having gas heating?
Expensive. Yeah, well, I've got the gas fireplace plus a full range of gas heating options.
Nice.
Cool. So effectively, it's just telling Flint what this page is about, and it will go and have a go at drafting up content. So again, don't expect that this is going to be your finished page. But man, when you're staring at a blank page and you're thinking, oh man, what should I put on this gas fitting page? Being able to get the ideas right in place is pretty cool. So the other thing while that's loading in, if you design your concepts in a tool like InDesign or something first, you might once we launch the sitemap capability, think about actually doing the sitemap and sort of drafting the wireframe of the content and then bringing that to the design tool. And maybe even there's value in doing the sitemap before you even send the quote to the client.
So do you see this kind of changing designers' process?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And as Flint is constantly evolving, as I mentioned, we're just getting started. It's on us to make sure that we communicate how different versions of Flint can potentially be woven into your process. So you'll see here, Flint is now creating, a landing page for this gas fitting service.
Yeah, very cool.
So the layouts here are relatively simple layouts. They're much more wireframey than a template. So one of the pieces of feedback we often get from designers is they actually don't like working with templates. They want to start from scratch. They don't want to peel back a whole lot of template font size, color stuff. They want to start completely vanilla and then add that stuff. So with this, you've got picture placeholders, so you can put in your own photos. There's no stack design settings, so it's all just a white background, but you can really easily then add your own color contrasts or artwork. And I guess, so if we think about this content, it's given you a really nice starting point to think about the kind of content that you might want to put on a page.
Nice.
Yeah, do you think that covers the whole page writing?
I think that's
move on to
a really good overview. And I suppose while we're in here, there's a few other things that we've released recently as well around the visual spacing.
Yeah. So the combination of writing a whole page and the visual spacing is really powerful in that it means that you're not having to keep clicking into the stack design settings to make little tweaks here and there. So
would you say that's a big kind of pain point for a lot of designers?
Yes. Yeah, it's you're having to make a lot of spacing changes, and having to go in here and do them was really slow, and now you can make those adjustments kind of on the fly right in situ. So you can adjust from one side with these spacing handles here, or if you hold down the shift key, you can adjust evenly from both sides. So if we adjust.
Is that live in everyone's design studio now?
This is live for all partners currently.
Cool.
So you can adjust your column gap, your left and right spacing, your top and bottom spacing, and you'll notice here this little diamond here, which isn't actually with any partners yet. So this is a little bit of a sneak peek, but effectively this gives the ability to adjust column widths.
Cool.
Right on the fly like that. So if I want to make
just click and drag and
that's right. So I can make that picture taller. Then I can make, adjust those column widths like that.
Hopefully this is going to make things a bit faster for people.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So full. And the other thing as well is previously you would have had to go up to these different layouts here. And the increments are effectively a quarter or a third, but you can actually...
So you don't need to go up there anymore.
No, you don't need to go up there anymore, and you can go much more fine-tuned. And we're also actually looking at the next version of the UI potentially being able to just really easily add and delete columns on the fly.
Cool.
So yeah, that's coming as well. So you see here, this word here is actually too long for the column here. So if I just go like that,
way easier.
It just fits there. So yeah, that's the visual spacing. This little diamond adjuster is, I think, ready to start rolling out to designers.
Cool.
Today, basically.
Nice.
So
it hasn't been released just yet?
No. So we'll start with a smaller group and then look to roll that out wider.
And you see it evolving further as well. You mentioned around the columns and
so we have been looking at the internal column spacing setting. So that's, you'll notice here there's a gap there between the text and the column gap. So this spacing here, we have actually built that capability, but we're just trying to work out how to make it a really nice, smooth experience. So
a little sneak peek to what's coming.
But the idea is that at least for spacing, you don't have to go up here anymore. And mobile spacing is also on our radar. We know that's a really key pain point for designers wanting to speed that up. So that's something that we're also looking at.
And so the color wheel, that's more purely for going and changing fonts and colors and background.
But the general line of travel is we want to move to doing as much design control in situ as possible.
Cool.
The other thing we hear as well is designers are often saying we want more design flexibility and we want faster access to these flexible design controls that are maybe hidden away a bit.
Mhm.
And then we hear from some people, maybe your clients or
Yeah.
or DIY customers or people brand new to Rocketspark, and they're wanting things to be simpler. And so there's this tension where if we actually do Rocketspark as the same for everybody,
Yeah.
these people it's not flexible enough, and these
Yeah.
people it's too advanced. And so we're actually looking at how we can separate that a little bit and actually tailor it to each audience
Nice.
more than what we are at the moment. So
I like
yeah,
it.
that's
Something's
something
coming.
in the pipeline as well.
Nice, I like it. And another thing, I guess a lot of people we've had kind of not complaints, but just wondering when we're going to be able to change or manage pages a bit easier. Is that something that
Yeah.
you
It's
want to jump in and have a chat about?
good question you asked there, Hayden. So you might notice there's now a little magnifying glass up in the top bar there. So if you go up
Is that what
here,
that's for?
opens this quick page manager or
Ah,
quick actions menu. So it'll show you the recent pages that you've
yep.
been to. And the really cool thing about this is, you know, like I've got about plumbing, gas fitting, and contact here, but you'll see here in that quick actions menu, I've got some other pages that aren't present in that menu. So if you've ever been working on a page, it's a landing page, putting a bunch of work into it, and then you sort of, oh, where was that page again? Oh,
Yeah.
the other thing as well is you can do, there's a shortcut with this. So if you like shortcuts, you can do Command K.
Nice.
Command K. Oh, okay, my keyboard's not working. But anyway, usually it works that Command K opens that quick actions menu. And you can, oh yeah, there we go. You can arrow down with your keyboard as well. So if I want to go to the Rinnai gas hot water page and you hit enter, so you can effectively go Command K. Oh, yep. I want to search Rinnai, enter. You can do that whole thing really quickly without even moving your hand to the
So I
mouse.
can imagine this is going to have pretty big impact around efficiency, right?
Yeah, it just makes it faster to get, you know, to the pages that you're working on rather than having to go to the manage pages area every time, find that page, click on that page. You can go straight there from anywhere. Especially for, you know, if you've got 20, 30 pages on your site, this is going to be a lot faster.
Nice. That sounds good. So the other thing I just want to sort of touch on as well is around the fonts. Now, this is something we had released a wee while back, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Keen to just jump in and have a little bit of a explore around this. I think this is a big question we get from a lot of people around what are the fonts that we can bring in? Do we have to use the standard fonts? What's the sort of the story there?
Yeah, so this was a big request and a lot of people wanting to buy fonts from Creative Market and also use fonts from Google Fonts. So effectively it's the ability to download fonts from those places or buy fonts from those places or independent type foundries as well. And upload those into Rocketspark and use them on your site. So it just gives you a way bigger range of font options than just the standard Adobe ones.
Yeah, I guess brand's critical, right, when it comes to design and making sure that you can bring in something that is quite custom.
Totally, and it just reduces attention with the clients. You know, if the client is really set on their brand font and you say, oh, sorry, on your Rocketspark website, you can't have that, it creates tension with you and your client. So that's why we've launched that ability. So effectively, you can access it via any font drop down anywhere. You just click add fonts. If you go to my fonts up here, so most of my headings are this Plantain light, but I'm actually going to upload a font.
So are there any limitations with fonts, or is it completely flexible? We can.
So these are the font file types that we offer. So TTF, OTF, WOF, and WOF2. And you need to upload a font face for each font weight. So you might have regular and bold, for example. So if we click upload there, cool. So this one here I downloaded from Google Fonts called Space Grotesque. And I actually want to replace every instance of this Plantain font site-wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to toggle off this font, but it detects that that font's in use. So it lets me choose a replacement font. So if I go down here to that new one that I've added, Space Grotesque Light, and click Save Changes and Replace Font.
Let's make things a little bit quicker.
So now everywhere that font was used has been updated to this new font that I've uploaded. So yeah, pretty cool.
And so you can just do that the same way as you've always been able to update fonts.
Yeah, and then when you go to edit the fonts,
Yep.
so it's just one of the options in the list. And if you go back to my fonts, you can see that it's a custom font, and
Cool.
you can see your Adobe fonts here.
Nice. Well, hopefully some people have already had a play around with it. And so this isn't too new, but for some people, they probably weren't aware at all, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
Cool. I guess moving on to the next thing we just wanted to chat about briefly were domain transfers. So this has been something we've introduced recently. So this would be maybe a couple of weeks, maybe about a week ago.
Probably a bit longer, maybe closer to a month, but yeah, it's fairly recent.
Talk a little bit about the problem that we're trying to solve with this.
Yeah, so previously when you were transferring a client's domain to Rocketspark that was an existing domain,
Yep.
If there was credit on that domain, so some people will pay up 3 years in advance for their domain name, so they've got credit. And so previously, when you would transfer a domain to Rocketspark, you would have to pay what we call a transfer fee, but that was effectively the next renewal. But if that was 3 or 5 years in advance, it's not super appealing to a client to have to pay, you know, for 3 years from now when they've already got credit. So often designers would leave the client's domain where it is because there's credit there. But we've actually worked out that we could change it for .nz and .au domains. So with all other domains, so .coms and other regions, we still need to charge the transfer fee because that's the rules of the domain reseller. But for .nz and .au domains, we've been able to eliminate that transfer fee. So what it means is that if your client has, 10 months of credit on their domain and they transfer that domain to Rocketspark, if it's a .nz or .au domain, they don't have to pay any transfer fee and they can carry that credit across with them. Or if it's credit, 5-year credit, they can bring that credit across with them and they only have to then pay for the next domain renewal. And it just creates a simpler one-stop shop for people. If you can get their domain, workspace emails, website, hosting, all with one invoice, it just simplifies things for the client.
Ultimately, just creating a better experience, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh no, I like it. And have we had many people take it up as of yet?
Yep. Cool. Definitely. We've seen an increase in domain names.
Have you had any feedback from anyone or?
Haven't heard from designers about it, but then I don't know how much we've talked about it other than today.
No, so I think it might have been in the newsletter, but otherwise, pretty much today. So if you guys do have any feedback or if you've got a client that you want to try this out for, do have a try. And I guess what's the benefit of using it or getting everything onto that same kind of billing side, right?
Yeah, it's just one-stop shop, so simplifies it for clients.
Nice. No, it makes sense. Cool. And I guess it's interesting going through and looking at some of these designs. But with the things that we've just been through now, what would be sort of one of the key benefits of, say, using Flint?
I think it can speed up the design process. It can break, creative block when you're struggling for ideas. It can, with the sitemap stuff, it's going to definitely streamline the process. In future, maybe it could even streamline the process of working with writers in terms of like the briefing process and briefing writers in, and maybe it could make working with professional writers more efficient, and so more clients would take it up. So you don't have to try and DIY the content for the clients who aren't willing to pay for a writer. It's kind of with an open-minded, I guess, stance. There's all sorts of opportunities that can come out of it. Color as well, in terms of some of the tedious aspects of pulling colors from your logo and then injecting those into kind of basic backgrounds and that kind of thing before you bring the artwork element. And it's just eliminating the admin work.
And do you think with Flint, what would you sort of say to designers that are currently using ChatGPT and then bringing that information into Rocketspark?
There's a lot of copy pasting, and then if you set up the custom instructions in ChatGPT, you've then got to change those for each client, and so there's a lot of admin involved with that. I mean, I'm doing that currently for Rocketspark for our other stuff. We've got Flint installed on rocketspark.com, and it's awesome to help us there, but that process of constantly copying stuff back and forth from ChatGPT is a nightmare. I don't like it. That's right. Super powerful tool. But the other thing I'd say as well with Flint is Flint is powered by ChatGPT and Gemini. So it actually is ChatGPT, but inside Rocketspark. One thing I'd say as well is currently how it's set up is Gemini is the
So
main.
Gemini is Google's version?
Gemini is Google's
Yep.
version. So Gemini is what it tries to use first. And if Gemini is unavailable, because often these AI models are just unavailable for
Yep.
whatever reason, it'll fall back to ChatGPT, but we're looking to actually flip that around.
Yeah,
So I'm
okay.
currently testing that, getting some really nice results. And
Cool.
that version of ChatGPT will use 4.0. So if a lot of you are using 4.0 on the paid ChatGPT plan, very soon, hopefully that's
You'll be able
what
to
Flint
replace
will
it.
be using as its primary one.
Cool.
So yeah, should be some nice boosts
Makes sense.
and quality of content there too.
And I guess going forward, how would you sort of recommend for designers that haven't started using AI? What would sort of be the best process? Jump in and just have a go of Flint?
Yeah, I guess with Flint, we're trying to make AI more accessible for, especially for people who have been either nervous about using it or have been using it and not getting great results. It's really easy to use AI and ChatGPT or whatever and just sort of get pretty mediocre content. So Flint is really like this jetpack that kind of we've kind of wrapped around ChatGPT to try and make it just more automatically easy. But when we're not at the final destination yet, and it doesn't get it right every time, and so that's where we're just constantly evolving and improving. Industry terminology is another one that we're looking at. So at the moment, sometimes Flint will dumb down industry terminology a little bit. So I had that feedback from some designers, and in some testing, we've been getting it to actually honor. So most marketing content is written for about a 13-year-old reading age. And that makes it really easy to read, fast to read. But for industry terminology, it dumbs it down too much. And so we're looking to get it to make it easy to read, you know, clear, easy marketing copy. But then if there's an important SEO keyword or industry terminology, to honor that. So it's constantly evolving and iterating.
With it constantly evolving, I mean, you've shown me videos where it's getting quite crazy, where AI can start to look at your screen and sort of look at everything you're doing. How do you sort of see that evolving with, say, products like Flint? Do you see us bringing in picture, videos, things like that?
Picture, still working through that. So I'm a big proponent for working with a professional photographer. If you're taking photos of people, AI people look like aliens.
Yes, it doesn't.
But I think that there's definitely a place for AI to help with design. When we're designing the interface for Rocketspark, I'm using ChatGPT to help with that. If there's something I'm really stuck on, I'll take a screenshot of the design, put it in ChatGPT. Hey, how can I make this better? It's a wording in a pop-up or a user flow, and it's giving me some amazing ideas. And I'm never taking what it suggested as exactly what I do, but it just helps with those blocks, those creative blocks. Yeah.
Nice. I guess with the stuff that went through today, what would sort of be one key takeaway for designers from who are on today's session? If there's a particular part of the product you want them to go and try out, is there a particular part you want further feedback on?
Definitely really nailing that tone of voice. So just like working with a writer, the Flint is only as good as the brief that you give it. And so that 5,000 characters of tone of voice is really important, and it just creates the whole vibe of everything. So if you don't give them much information, it's going to be pretty generic content. But if you give it heaps of instruction about the way you want it to write, that's probably the big one. So that little button in terms of fine-tune your tone of voice, give that one a go. And even if you have worked with a writer, you can take all of that content, put it in ChatGPT and say, hey, based on this content, what are the brand attributes that you see here? And that will kind of reverse engineer your tone of voice blurb, and then you copy paste that into the Flint tone of voice thing, and then it'll perpetuate that vibe.
I like it.
It's actually quite easy.
And what's the best way for people to give that feedback? Is it through support@rocketspark.com?
Yeah, definitely email the support team. There's people ask questions about things in the Facebook group as well, which is good for getting discussion going.
We've got Charlotte on board now as well. So.
Yeah, totally. Talk to Charlotte, and she'll share those through.
Cool. No, sounds good. Oh, well, thanks for taking us through that. Hopefully everyone managed to get through and learn something from today's session.